All right, gang, STAT1800. This is the final video on chi-square. Actually, I intended for the previous video to be the final video on chi-square, but I thought about something else I wanted to teach. So you maybe noticed that the previous video kind of ended abruptly. So that's what's going on. So what I want to do is the purpose of this video is just to kind of look at critical values and how to calculate p-values. Now guys, for these problems, remember the p-values and critical values are calculated using the chi-square distribution, and the degrees of freedom for these equals the number of rows minus 1 times the number of columns minus 1. So, for example, let's say that we have want to investigate the relationship between two categorical variables, and let's say that we have 5 rows and 3 columns, and we want to find the critical value . Well, it looks like a V. I can't stand that. When alpha is 0.01. So guys, essentially what we have here is we have the chi-square distribution, and we want to find the chi-square critical, for which we have 1% of the area to the right. And guys, this distribution will have degrees of freedom, r minus 1, times columns minus 1, so it will have degrees of freedom 8. Well, the great thing about it is these problems are easily worked when you go to Stat Crunch. So guys, again, go to calculator and go to chi-square. And we want our degrees of freedom to be 8. And we want the area above a particular value to be 0.01. So guys, your critical value here would be 20.09. I'm going to write that down. So we would have to have a chi-square test statistic above 20.09 to be statistically significant. So guys, again, this is our reject H sub O region. And this is our fail to reject H sub O region. Now, to calculate a p-value, it's just about the same. Remember, p-values are calculated using a chi-square test statistic, and just for this illustration, let's assume that our chi-square test statistic is 3.92, and let's say we're dealing with a chi-square with degrees of freedom equal to 5. Well, in this chi-square distribution, degrees of freedom 5, the p-value is just the area to the right of 3.92. Now, guys, again, this is sometimes can be confusing for students because it looks like the previous problem where we find the chi-square, but the chi-square critical value. But guys, the chi-square critical value is a function of the area above, which is indicated by our alpha value. The 3.92 is a chi-square test statistic, so the area above is the p-value. So they work kind of in opposite ways. The critical value is a function of this area, where in a p-value, this area is a function of this test statistic. So guys, again, degrees of freedom 5, it's going to be easy to do. We're going to just change the degrees of freedom 5, and we want the area above 3.92, and this will be our p-value. So guys, our p-value in this problem would be 0.561. So, for example, at the alpha 0.05 or alpha 0.10 or 0.01, whatever it may be set at, reasonably, we would not have statistical significance. Well, guys, can't make this hard if I tried. No, I never would try to make it hard. This is the final video on chi-square. So again, I think you'll find this to be kind of a welcome relief to the material that we've covered over the past couple of weeks. So, guys, take care.